my goodness, I got just a delightful, wonderful feel for you today. I am your host, the even more fabulous Mother Love, right here on the radio and on Ustream and TikTok and Big Box and Spreaker and Streaker and YouTube. I'll tell you all about that later. And I am just this cat that you are looking at now that looks like he looks like that because he is a king, he is royalty, and he continues to make his body of work even greater, everything that he touches, including my love. This the guy could be with, and my husband like, oh, you okay, you got Ted with you, okay, go honey, whenever you bring it back, pop up at the door, I'll come get it. Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable Mr. Ted Lange.
Hello, 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 Mother Love.
Hey, my brother friend, how you doing? It's so good to see you. And then this is what when you know that somebody is your friend and not just a friend in the business, because everybody want to be your friend in this business. When you're friends, and we could pick up wherever we let go, wherever we
That's
leave
right
off,
now.
we could pick up. So for those of you who have been living up under a rock or up under a tree or up under the mid earth, this cat is just awesome. He is awesome. So Ted, tell everybody about who you are and what you do and why you do it.
Well, some of your older people might remember me from the television show That's My Mama, in which I played a character named Junior. And then some that are a little later than them might remember Loveboat, in which I played the bartender Isaac Washington. And the rest of you may know me from appearances in different low budget, cheapy movies and theater. I do a lot of theater now. I go around the country working out of different theaters, some black theaters, some white theaters. I just finished a play in Syracuse, New York at a theater called the Red House. We got great reviews. I direct plays. I act in plays and I write plays. And if you Google my name or go to Amazon, if you go to Amazon and type in my name under books, you'll see I got about a dozen plays that are there that you can buy and read if you like. And it's a kind of an eclectic bunch of plays. Because, like you, different things interest me, Mother Love, So I've written some historical plays, I've written some black comedies, and I've written some Shakespeare plays. And they're all on Amazon right now.
How about that? Is that not an outlet or is that not an outlet there?
Yeah,
So,
man.
tell me
Great.
about when you're a young kid, you growing up, when did it hit you? When did you know? When did that fire in you get lit up that you wanted to be on stage and you knew? Because see, you one of them kind of cats, I do this because I do this. When did that fire start burning up in you? You go, okay, Ted.
I
Okay.
was in the 10th grade
Ah.
and they wanted to put me in auto shop. And I got real lucky. I was walking around my high school campus and
Where?
Oakland, California. I went to Oakland Technical High School.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up in the auditorium and I watched them. They were rehearsing a play.
Mm-hmm.
And I had done 2 plays when I was in junior high school, that's what we used to call it back in the day, junior high school.
Junior high school.
And I did Macbeth and I did Ebenezer Scrooge and A Christmas Carol. So that's when, I kind of got bit, but I wasn't focused. And then in the 10th grade, I decided to change I went to my counselor and said, oh, don't worry, you'll take it in your senior year. I go, no, I want to take it right now. And I had them change everything. And that was it. And then my high school drama teacher, who was a white guy, said, things are opening up in show business and he took a special interest in me because there weren't that many black kids in drama in 1964. 1964. There weren't that many actors, black actors. And so I was very lucky because he and his wife kind of took me under their wing outside of classroom. You know, they took me to ballets, they took me to operas, and I said, why are you doing that? They said, because you have to know this. If you're going to be an actor, you have to know about operas. You have to know about ballets and not just about theater, you know, because it's all one. And so I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate. And they groomed me. And here's the upside. Years later, when I got on Loveboat, I bought them a cruise as a thank you, you know, and so they went on a cruise together, and it was great. It was a great thank you for me to them,
And
you know.
see, when people, and oftentimes, especially in our community, some of us think it and some of us don't even see it. And somebody else comes in and say, I see a fire inside of you. I see
Yeah,
a light inside of you.
yeah,
And we don't know what the light is. I mean, I had to go, I was in therapy. I was in like mental health therapy when I was 14 years old. And it was a horrific incident that was part of my where you got to heal and all that stuff. So
yeah.
they gave me a private tutor. I had to go to not a tutor. They gave me a therapist. And
Uh-huh.
you have to sit down with therapists and tell them stuff. And after the second session, he said, "Oh, young lady, there's nothing wrong with you. What it is you're way ahead of your time with them, and they want to move slow. That's them. But we want to just like what you said. We want you to see everything." And I was like, "What TV? I wouldn't even think about doing anything like that because that was crazy." They always say, "Why you want to be in the movies? Why you want to be a musician? You can't make a living at that. How dare you?" So when you go to your family and you say, "I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to be a director. I'm going to be a writer." And they said, "What?"
Yeah, no. Listen, my dad, but I grew up in a single parent household in Oakland.
Mhm,
But in the summers, I would go down to Los Angeles to see my father. He
mhm,
was in a black theater group called the Ebony Showcase in the 1950s. And so when I hit 17, I'm like a senior in high school,
mhm,
and I'm sitting on the couch with my dad and my stepmother.
mhm.
And my stepmother was really kind of rough. She was from Louisiana. She was high yellow. Some of you might know what that is.
I
She
know
was
what
high
that means.
yellow.
We know
And
what that means.
I was the darkest thing in the family. Okay. So I'm sitting on the couch with my dad, and he was a plasterer. He'd
Mhm,
work all day, and then he'd go to the theater and rehearse at night. And she used to give him hell about it,
mhm,
just give him hell. And so one day, now I'm 17, mother love. I'm
mhm.
17 years old. I say to my dad, I said, Dad, I think I want to be an actor. And he said, well, son, that's a good idea. If you need any advice, just let me know. And I said, okay. Then something happened. He got up and he left the room, and I'm sitting on the couch. And my stepmother looks at me and says, little Teddy, because that's what she called me. She says, little Teddy, you're not half the man your father is. And he couldn't make it in show business.
Mm.
What makes you think you can make it? And I said and this, I'm 17. I don't even know where I got the courage to say this. I said, well, Juanita, I got something going for me that my father doesn't have. And she looked at me and she thought about it. She said, well, what is that? And I said, I'm not married to you. And then Mother Love, she gave
Okay.
me the finger. She raised her hand and gave me the finger, and I said, I rest my
My kid.
case. And I
Okay.
never looked back.
How
Now,
long were they married? How long did they stay married?
oh, they stayed married the whole time. They stayed married. But it was up and down. It was one of
They
those,
married.
because
Been there, done
he
that.
was
Been
a
there, doing
drinker.
that.
He was a drinker, so it was up and down. But
Mhm.
there were a couple of times I was in New York and I was struggling in New York, and I sure wanted to go home.
Mhm.
I wanted to go, sit with my dad, and I wouldn't do it. I would not
Why
do it
not?
because that woman would look in my face and say, "I told you so."
Told you so.
So I didn't. I stayed in New York and I struggled. I struggled in New York,
Mhm.
but I started gaining some traction.
Mhm.
But there were some rough spots along the way where you go, man, this ain't easy. This is tough. But I learned to manage my money.
Mhm.
I learned to get the rent paid,
Mhm.
manage my money, and figure out how to eat.
Mhm.
Figure out how to eat with a little bit of money. Because you could get one gig in film and television, you can get one gig. And if you manage your money correctly, that could last you 4 or 5 months.
Okay, and 4 or 5 years. I mean, I
Yeah.
still get residual checks from work
Yeah.
that I've done many years ago.
Yeah,
And when
exactly.
you see that, and they don't, especially young people, don't really embrace the part of this as a business.
Yeah.
It's show business. You got
Right.
the talent. You know that you can get up there, and when you could do Shakespeare, and you could play Othello, and you could do Macbeth, and be the Ebenezer Scrooge. I mean, that's a wide range of characters to be able to mandate with that. And
Yeah.
when you sit up and look at it, I mean, that's a huge body of work that you've
Yeah.
done. And
Yeah.
if this were easy, now Ted, you know this like I know this. If this were easy, everybody would do it.
That's
This
right
is
now.
this is
That's right.
cutthroat, take your skin off, tell you what to do, who to
Yeah.
love, what to see. And when you don't have that foundation, that will take the business and will take you and drag you through.
Yeah.
What was your wherewithal when you said, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Okay, my stepmother, she don't believe in me. Did your father, was he there to help you, guide you through it, and understand
Well, yeah,
that it was a
he
business?
believed in me. You all you need is really one person that my drama teacher believed in me, and my dad and my mom both said go for it. They didn't know if I was going to make it or not, but they were positive.
Mhm.
And one of the great lessons that uh, I learned from my drama teacher's wife, because they were taking me and showing me stuff, and then there was another kid in my senior year that was a talented singer, and I got jealous, and I said to her, "Why are you hugging on him?" Meaning this other guy. We were doing a musical, Damn Yankees, and he was the
Okay.
lead.
Mhm.
And I played the devil, and I had a song, which a song you could talk as much as you could sing.
Mhm.
But he was a singer. He was from the church. His daddy was a preacher. And he sang the lead.
Mhm.
He had these great songs. And so I said, why? And she helped him through a song, and she was hugging on him and showing him how he hit the different notes and stuff like that. And so I got jealous, and I said to her, why are you hugging on him? You love me. Why are you showing love to him? And she said, and this is the greatest lesson I ever learned.
Mhm.
I'm 17 again. She said, you know what, Ted? I love talent.
Mhm.
Now, is Sam as funny as you? And I said, no, no, he don't. No, he's not funny as me. She said, can you sing as well as Sam? And I said, well, no, I can't. She says, there's no reason for you to be jealous because nobody can do what you do. So have confidence in what you bring to the table, and never compare yourself to someone else, because it doesn't help you go forward. You are special in your own right. Know that. And Sam is special in his own right. And you can't be him and he can't be you. Well, that was the greatest lesson. I had no reason to be jealous if I believed in myself. Just believe in yourself. And then I saw examples of it. Like you look at Melissa McCarthy,
Mm-hmm.
she should not be starring in movies if you go by the standard Hollywood, example. But she's a funny girl.
She's hilarious.
She's a funny girl. And you look at, if you saw Game of Thrones,
Oh my God, I loved it.
and the little guy, the little person that was in Game of Thrones,
Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
I love
Now,
him.
you can imagine when he went to his parents and said, I want to be an actor. you know? And this guy is starring in Game of Thrones and he's fantastic. You cannot compare yourself to anyone. You just have to be true to who you are. And I was lucky to learn that at a very young age. So I always walked into the room with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I got cut down, and it may take a day or two for me to get that confidence back, but it always came back.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always was under the impression that I was bringing something special to the table, whether they saw it or not.
Exactly. And I know that, and this is the part where a lot of actors and people in this industry, when you got to go to a casting call, and I always thought I was like awesome in a casting call. I would go in just like the character, with the vernacular and everything. And I was auditioning for this part in this very extremely popular African American themed television show, comedy. And so I go in there and I'm, when they got the big muckety mucks in there, the executive producer and the casting director and they got all the big mucket above the line people. I didn't know what that meant when they first, these are all the above the line people. Like, above what line? Nonetheless, I go in, kill them, literally kill. Dude was laying on the floor. The director's laughing so hard, he was laying on the floor. So I'm, getting my stuff back together. And I just know he's going to say, okay, you get a call back. He looked up at me while he was laying on the floor laughing. And he said, Mother Love, you ain't never going to get this part. And I said, but why? Y'all laying on the floor. Dude is behind the chair about to throw up in the basket because he laughing so hard. He said, because the star of this show will not be able to deal with somebody of the magnitude of your talent.
Wow.
I was like, okay, so you slapped me in the face, knocked me down on the floor, and tell me, stand up. Okay, you won't get this part because the lead can't deal with me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's when I knew, but I never knew it. My mother, when you talk about the people who are influencing in your life, my mother would tell me from a little girl, she used to call me Betty Davis. And I had to go find out who Betty Davis was. I was real dramatic, and she used to carry a hand towel across her shoulder. You know how your mom got that hand, like this they first top apron, and she always kept one across her shoulder. And so many years later, she would say, she getting ready to whoop me, and when it go outside and give me a switch, and don't come in here with no little tiny switch.
That's old school.
Matter of fact, you bring me in 3 switches so I can braid them up and whoop your behind. So I'm like, I bring the switches, she bring them up, and I just fall down on them. My Lord Jesus, I'm coming to see your Father God. She's going to kill me before I'm 12. Okay, I'm never going to. And she would say, get your Betty Davis acting ass up off the phone. Go sit in your room. Yeah. And I asked her, after we got to be grown up, and I said, so Mama, what was the towel for? Why would you always talk to me through your teeth? You don't talk to your other kids like teeth don't even separate. And she said, baby, if I didn't have that towel across my shoulder when you would just fall out on the floor and just be so melodramatic. And she said, if I start out, I had the towel so I wouldn't laugh. Because if I start laughing how ridiculous you are and funny, I'm going to lose all of my credibility.
Oh, funny.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad you find humor in my pain.
No, that's funny though.
I was traumatized. She was like, So I gotta go look up Betty Davis. So I don't know Betty Davis. So I go and I look up Betty Davis, and I think I want you remember the late night movies that would have come on the black and white.
Oh yeah.
I saw a Betty Davis movie called Dead Ringer. And
Uh-huh.
after I saw Dead Ringer, where she played the twins, and one was wonderful and one was just Satan in a skirt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she really think I can act? Oh, this could be something. Okay, we can do that. And it
Yeah.
was hilarious. And I got into stand up on a fluke. Cause I mean, I should have been one of the members of one of the most hilarious clan of comedians ever. They would not come on. I was like, yeah, this was even before the Wayne family, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, we can do this. Check this out. I was not the funniest one in the group. Well, now I am because they, I'm like, I'm taking your story and your story and your story, mama's story. Everybody don't want to do this. And, and like I said, it was a fluke. And it was something that I had never planned. I would have never, how you have your plan out, but you knew at 17 you wanted to be an actor. I knew at 17 I wanted to have a man for a boyfriend. I want to have a man for a man friend. What a 17-year-old boy gonna do for me? I'm a grown woman, got my own job. Back it up. And so getting to that point, God has a way, because I had a plan. I had a finite plan for my life and anybody else who was going to be around me. And God, I was talking to God, he went, you stupid. You are so stupid. Baby, let me tell you what I got planned for you. This is my plan. I was like, okay, I'm shutting up now. And when you have that foundation, when you go in there, and whether yay or nay, you do the best job that you can do, period.
Yeah.
And that's what's so important when you embrace the work and the process of the work. Because you had said earlier, you just came from Syracuse. And I'm like, it's a good thing you handsome and I love you because you is crazy than the Betsy bug. You out there in Syracuse in the winter time. In the winter time.
In the wintertime, 27 degrees and it's snowing. But I'm doing what I love. I'm doing theater. You
So
know?
now, do you love theater more than you do television and
No,
movies?
no, no,
If
no.
are your favorite babies?
I love it all. My whole deal was I just want to be in show business and I want to make enough money so that I can do whatever the next project is.
Mhm,
So when I was on Loveboat, I had gone to the American Film Institute to study film directing.
mhm.
So I would go to them every year and ask to direct a television show. And on the fifth year, they let me direct. But I went to oh, I know what I have to tell you. I went to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in
In
London.
London.
Okay, so Lynn Redgrave, who was English, she was doing the show, and she and I were tossing Shakespeare lines back and forth to each other.
Mhm.
And so in the middle of this, she stops and she says, you should go to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts because you seem to be very good with Shakespeare. I said, "Oh, Lynn, it's a little too late for me to go to school." She
It's never too
said,
late.
what do you mean it's too late?" I said, "Well, I'm on a hit television show. I'm making tons of money, and I'm famous.
Yeah.
Why would I need to go to Royal Academy?" And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Ted. I thought you were an actor."
Oh.
And I said, "Oh,
Oh, but
and so,
start
uh,
speaking in tongue, didn't you? Start
yeah,
speaking.
yeah, and so I went and I checked it out. They had a program that I could be a part of, but I needed a letter of recommendation. So I went back to Lynn Redgrave and I said, "Hey, I've applied to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts and I need a letter of recommendation." She said, "You, the Royal Academy? You applied to the Royal Academy?" And I said, "Lynn, I'm an actor." So she wrote me a letter. I got in, I studied Shakespeare, and a lot of the stuff, I learned the difference between what the English do and what Americans do. I
Separate.
learned the economy of movement, which is what the English do. And a lot of the technique that I learned as an actor, I use when I'm directing
Mhm.
people in plays now, and it's very, very helpful. I'm so happy that I had that conversation with her because it made me a better director.
And it does. When I think the best directors are actors, and some of them are absolutely brilliant, and they know where they stand at, and they know where they can go, and they know what they're looking for.
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
when you have that kind of background, and you're able to maneuver through all these different genres. I mean, I love Shakespeare. I know you know that Shakespeare was black, right? They can't deal with that.
Well, yeah, that's but
It,
I got an even better one. I wrote a play about they've attributed it to more than one person. Do you know that?
what, Shakespeare?
Shakespeare, yeah. And I wrote a play which is on Amazon called Shakespeare Over My Shoulder. And I went and did a lecture at the Mark Twain House in Hartford, Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
and for a Shakespeare Society.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had directed a version of Othello. I wrote a prequel to Othello because a lot of black people would when I did Othello at the Inner City Cultural Center. I had people come up to me and say, "Well, I didn't understand this. Where did that come?" And I didn't understand that. So I wrote a prequel that sets the whole play up
Mm-hmm.
called "The Cause My Soul." And I show how, because when you come into the Othello play, you're coming in halfway through the conflict of Othello because he's
Mm-hmm.
just married
No,
Desdemona,
mm-hmm.
and Iago is getting mad. And so I wrote a play about all of that,
Mm-hmm.
and then I wrote it in iambic pentameter. But I gave
Wait,
a
say that again. You hold it in the did a what amateur?
iambic pentameter, which
Okay, that
is
was too many syllables. You gotta explain that to me. You got to do
okay.
some explaining.
Okay, that's verse. In
Mm-hmm.
other words, when you say to be or not to be, that is the question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a book that says, and I use this when I lecture to actors. The play Hamlet was first done in a college in England. And the original line is to be or not to be, that is the point,
Of the oh.
not the question.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because it's in iambic pentameter. So
Okay.
you
Now.
take each syllable, it's 10 syllables to a line.
Mm-hmm.
To be or not to be, that is the
Point.
point. Question adds another syllable,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not a perfect line. But I do a thing where I say, an actor said to Shakespeare, "I can't say that," and he says, "What do you mean? It comes out. It's iambic pentameter." He says, "Well, I want to say question." No, you can't say question. I'm the player. You have to say the point. And so, but they eventually change it, and everyone knows to be or not to be. That is the question. So when I wrote this play about Othello,
Mm-hmm.
first I wrote it in regular dialogue, and then I went back and put it in iambic pentameter
Mm-hmm.
so that it's in verse. And that's what you do with Shakespeare is the people that are royalty or upper class speak in verse, and
Mm-hmm.
the people that are lower class speak in regular language.
Right.
Okay, so and this is all stuff I learned at RADA. Okay, at the Royal Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I wrote another. So I did this lecture, and then all these guys came up to me and said, "Hey, you know, uh, William Shakespeare isn't the guy that wrote all those plays." I said, "Well, who wrote it?" They said, "Well, some people think it's Christopher Marlowe. Some people think it's Francis Bacon, but we here are part of the Edward de Vere Society."
Mm-hmm.
And so um, there was this nobleman named Edward de Vere.
Mm-hmm.
Now, They then gave me their books. They were all scholars. They said,
Mm-hmm.
"Here's my book," and then someone says, "No, don't read his book. Here's my book. Read my." And so I got all these books, and then I got some books on Christopher Marlowe,
Mm-hmm.
which is the other person they think wrote the plays. And then I got some books from on Francis Bacon, which is the third person. So there are a lot more people. It's like you're talking about Shakespeare was
Mm-hmm.
black. There are a lot more people that they think were involved in the writing of the Shakespeare plays. But so I wrote this play about Shakespeare wanting to be a writer. He started out as an actor, and
Mm-hmm.
he used to hold the horses. So you would go to the theater, you'd give him a couple of coins, and he'd hold your horses while you went in and saw the play. That's how he started out. And so then eventually he got into a play, and then he started writing plays.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a real person, but there were these other people during the time, noblemen,
Mm-hmm.
who that was their way of propaganda,
Ah,
was
see.
writing plays.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, Edward de Vere, they have evidence that he wrote Othello. Now, Othello is taken from a novel by an Italian guy who wrote this novel called The Moor. His
Mm-hmm.
name is Cinthio,
Mm-hmm.
and he wrote this novel. Edward de Vere traveled to Venice. The novel was very popular in Italy, but it never made it to England. The novel never went to England. So the question is, if William Shakespeare was in London and he never left London, how did he find out about this book?
And
And
Italy.
yeah, in Italy. And so Edward de Vere was there at the time, got the book, wrote the play, and brought it back to England. And that's what they think happened. And so there's a guy that has a book about it.
Mm-hmm.
I got all of this information and I filtered it through and I wrote this play called Shakespeare Over My Shoulder. And it's about William Shakespeare trying to be a playwright, but nobody's listening to him.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually works his way up to the point where he can be a playwright. But that's all stuff. I belong to a Shakespeare society called the Shakespeare Roundtable, and they bring up other people also besides these. The four people in my play are the most prominent people, the most likely people that could have written some of the Shakespearean plays. But that's what
See,
I do. So I write plays. I've got 26 plays, Mother Love.
I,
26 plays,
that's
and
what you do.
a dozen of them are on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I wrote um, a history play about George Washington and his favorite slave.
Oh yeah, Billy Lee. Mm-hmm.
I got a play about John Brown because there were five black guys with John Brown. Nobody ever talks about them.
Mm-hmm.
Five black guys that helped John Brown at Harper's Ferry. And so I write it from their point of view. I write
And
it
see,
from
we
Washington.
need stories like that to be told. That's the whole point of history because it's his story. What about our story?
Story, yeah.
They weren't there making history by themselves, and I think a lot oftentimes, as the truth gets watered down, and he said there were three people that were involved in writing Shakespeare plays, which I could see that,
Oh
because
yeah.
but the history doesn't want to bode well with who they really are. We want to make this, this kind of flowery thing. Or when we found out a long time ago, and I kept saying, well, why won't they say that he was black? And all the
Yeah.
Moors were
Yeah.
black. All the Moors were black. Shakespeare is a Moor. He was a
Yeah.
Moor. Hannibal was
Yeah.
a Moor.
Yeah.
All of
Yeah.
these people, these men of great intelligence, of great leadership, they were black men. And it just seemed like that wasn't even an issue back then of what
Yeah.
color your skin was. It was
Yeah.
what you bring
Yeah.
to the table.
Yeah.
Why do you think people think that Shakespeare is so hard to interpret? They say he's one of the hardest playwrights to interpret. And I thought The only reason why y'all say that is because you taking this too serious. Shakespeare had one hell of a sense of humor. I mean,
Oh,
come on,
yes, yes, yeah.
really?
And he was into humanity. That's why Othello lasted so long, is because of the humanity that he brought to the place, regardless of sexual orientation or skin color.
Mhm.
He was able to tap in. That's why these guys right now, like in Florida, or Ron DeSantis, they don't want you to know your history. So you say critical race theory, they make passing laws
Oh,
to stop you from learning about who was black and who wasn't.
and
We
the
got all
truth,
these
the
inventors.
truth. When DeSantis said, uh, Florida is where woke goes to die, I was
Yeah,
like, oh, he gonna be a prune by the time this is over. He just gonna
yeah,
fall right off the vine. And to
yeah,
say that this is what the reason why you're bringing this up, because from my understanding and from my friends who are attorneys and what have you, they're like, critical race theory is not even taught to elementary school. You don't even get that to you until you're in law school. So where
yeah.
are they coming from? This is going to take my children. Oh, because you don't want your children to know the truth about your heritage. Oh, but then you want to paint it differently. So I'm telling the kind of different kind of lie about history than you do. And I was like, and my God rest her soul, our mother was a fierce advocate of our history. Nobody
Yeah.
should say, baby, nobody can tell your story better than you. You don't
Yeah.
need anybody, you
Yeah.
don't have to explain yourself.
Yeah.
You know who you are. This was her advice to me when I was doing stand-up. And I was like, Mama, oh, this is a kind of. She said, baby, all you got to do is go out there and be your usual charming self. That way your mama tell you that. And I would be on a stage and I don't do you have a process before you go out on stage that where you do whatever it is you do. Do you have a process like
Oh
that?
yeah, sure, sure, sure. Uh, uh, the whole thing is, well, here's the difference. Things are changing now. When I did Inherit the Wind in Syracuse,
Mm-hmm.
the actors are different. There's a different generation of actors now because you have made headway,
Mm-hmm.
because I have made headway. They didn't have to fight like we fought.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to the actors, I have a trick that I do to get actors involved with their characterization. I said to the actors, I said, on the first day of rehearsal, I said, tomorrow, when you come to rehearsal, I want you to have something in your pocket that your character would have, or something in your purse. Now that meant you have to think. So the play took place in 1925 in Tennessee, and it was about books and banning books. It was based on what they call the Scopes monkey trot.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, not one person brought in anything. I had 14 people in the cast. Not one person brought in something that they thought their character would have. And so then I had to, pivot. So I said, you didn't bring in anything. They said, you were serious?
No, you just making up stuff to just be making up things.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
'cause that's
asking
pretty
you to
deep, Ted.
investigate and say,
That's
Captain
pretty
Bear,
deep.
you didn't
And you're
think I was
talking about
serious.
the new age kids who think that they're entitled to everything most of them do. And
That's
nevertheless, to say to them, that was saying to them, get into your character, get into who they are. What are he or she's mannerisms? What little thing will she have in
yeah,
her purse? Even
yeah.
and that's the advent on the internet. I mean, you could go and find everything on the internet now. You don't even have to
Yes,
think anymore.
just research. And so I
That's what I
we
call it. I said it's research. They go, you just being nosy. Same difference.
but we
Same
had to, but I got them on the page. You know
difference.
what I mean? I got them by the time we were in the second week of rehearsal. They started investigating and find, but they came in. And the other thing is this: I want to say to every actor that's listening to this, come in to the first rehearsal off book.
Book.
Off book. Know your lines, because the real work can't start till you know your lines and know who what you have to say. and memorize it. And that's what I'm saying is there's a lot of actors like say, well, I learned my lines through the blocking. No, I might change the blocking.
You're the director. See, now you
Yeah,
come in and direct and change the script and all of that. Now,
yeah.
when you're directing, especially your own pieces, when you're directing them, do you allow your characters to, ingratiate themselves or say, well, what about if it works this way? And how about if we try this? That you what thing that you might not have thought of at the time. So do you
Yes.
allow them that freedom?
Yes, yes. Another, if you research,
Mm-hmm.
like we were doing this George Washington play about the slave,
Mm-hmm.
and the girl that was playing Martha Washington, she said, Ted, I found out that Martha Washington used to call George Papa. So when I say George here, can I say Papa instead? I say, yeah. Because she found that. She
Mm-hmm.
researched, she found that. I didn't know that. And that was a wonderful thing. So it added a nice little flavor to the
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I had a little 11-year-old boy that came to me. He says, Mr. Lange, I got an idea for my character. And I said, well, what is it? He told me. And I looked at him, he's 11 years old. I said, that is the best idea I ever heard. And he looked like this, mother love. It is? I go, yeah. And we're going to put it in the show tomorrow. Well, his whole demeanor changed, you know? And it was this little kid thinking about
Mm-hmm.
his character, the part that his character plays in the play, and he came up with an original idea. So yes, you got to do the homework. That's the
Mm-hmm.
whole deal. But a I had another actor, an older actor, and he was. I wrote a play called Lady Patriot, which was about a slave girl named Mary Bowser that was a spy for the Union, and she was in Jefferson Davis's house. And so the actor, older actor named Lou Beatty, came to me. He said, and they had a scene where they're sitting and talking, and the guy, I had the character say something like, "Hot damn, Massa Jefferson, we're gonna beat those Yankees." And so he said, "Ted, there's an old slave term." I said, "What's the slave term?" He said, "Hot tamale no." I said, "Hot tamale no?" He goes, "Yep, that's a slave term, which means same thing you wrote here. Can I say that?" I said, "You better say it." So yeah, when you do your homework and you know what you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's good. That's what you want. That's what you want the actor to be comfortable. Now, there's certain things that I won't change. Like if it's to be or not to be,
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows that you got to say to be or not to
Yeah,
be.
that is the question,
That is the
not the point.
question. That's what you got to say. So, uh, within limits, yes, I give them, if they can show me stuff, then I'm good. But that's what I want them to do. I want them to do the research. I want them to, like, this play took place in 1925, and they were talking like it was 2024. And I said, no, this is over 100 years ago.
And
You can't talk. There's not the same value on the situation in 1924 that it is, 99 years later. You've got to give it what was going on in that period. And in that period, it was a courtroom drama. It was an all white male jury. And they wanted to teach the Bible and they didn't want to teach any science. So the court was slanted, and so but they didn't do any research. So I had to say to them, "Look, go research this, see what this is." And that's why I say there's a new actor in town, and they're privileged. They don't do any homework. They don't do any homework unless
It's
you
supposed
bring
to
it.
fall out the sky. And you
Yeah,
know, because I'm beautiful and I'm talented. I think
yeah.
I'm talented, but you can't even go off book. And that use, especially for women in this industry and for women of color, it is a constant uphill battle, even when you're breaking glass ceilings. They're looking at you like you can't know that, you can't do that, you can't say that. You have to, and I couldn't understand it for the life of me. And
Yeah.
so I was of the mindset, I don't need to wait on them for my turn. I need to make my own turn. And I
Uh,
need to have my foundation for what line I'm willing to cross or what line I'm not willing to cross. I used to was gonna cross I do a Playboy spread, and everything. And then I found out as I got older, they wouldn't even be able to tell if I was naked. I done got some skin just a little bit. They wouldn't be able to tell. So that'd just be ripping them people off for their 7.95. So I left that alone. And I stay up my lane. I know what I'm good at. I know
yeah.
the value that I bring to the table. And I think it's
Exactly.
unfair when artists don't realize and embrace the power that they have in their talent. Like somebody's going to tell you, well, Ted Lange, who do you think you are? You can't be an actor and a writer and a director. And who do you think you are, mother lover? You're going to be the this, that, and the third. And that part.
Yeah.
And
Well, they did say that. They said that to me.
they-
I told them, I said, I wrote a prequel to Othello. And they looked at me and said, in iambic pentameter. And I said, of course. They, you wrote a prequel to, yeah. And I wrote it in verse. That's right. So yeah, there's a lot of people that push negativity onto you, but you do not have to accept it.
No, not at all. Especially when you need to know your worth in this business or in any business. Where are your parameters? What are you doing? Have you researched this company? Do you trust them? Are you gonna trust this person or this group of people? And if I always, this is my gut is my best instinct. Even though I let it
Yes.
take over sometimes, I'm like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
have to go in, and one of the things I have always prided myself on, especially in this in my life, my no means no, and my yes is yes. When I tell you no, that's a complete sentence. And a lot of people don't respect that. And
Yeah.
especially for women. I mean, I used to always get this like crazy stuff. Well, you can't be like, I'm like, well, wait a minute, I am like that. Why can't I be like that? Oh, I remember when they first sent for me to come out here to California. And I told them I was married and I have a son. And they said, oh, well, we'll need to find some busy work for your husband to do, and we'll ship your son off to boarding school. The first meeting I had with the woman, I get up, I'm going to the bathroom, and we're in a meeting with the guy. Always, 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 God rest his soul, wanted him to be my agent. Like these people that you want to represent you.
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
did my homework on him. I did my homework on my literary agent. All of them. I did my homework. Okay, well, I wasn't supposed to. They didn't tell me I wasn't supposed to not do that. I'm like, but these people are gonna be working with me, and I had to explain to them, you guys work for me. You are my agent. You are my
That's it.
manager. You work for me. And when they tell me, well, yeah, you don't work and you don't get paid, and you might get your check in 45 days or 90 days, I'm like, oh, that is not gonna work with the mother. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
No.
It wasn't gonna work. And they always thought, oh, she's so arrogant. Oh, who does she think she is? I'm like, I don't think I know. I'm one of God's children. Matter of fact, I'm his favorite. So back yourself up and get off my stoop. And
There you
they would
go.
not, they didn't understand. I remember I had an agent at one of the big agencies, and he just treated me like he thought he was treating me like I wasn't anybody. Because I was like, dude, I'm not doing that. You have to. This is the part to get me about show. You have to do. No, I have to stay black, die, and pay taxes.
There you
I'm
go.
trying to figure out how not to do, and that's die and pay taxes. So now you work with that.
There you go.
And it was like they didn't expect me to. They didn't know that they kept saying. One of my program directors said, "Oh, mother love, you can't use words like that on the radio. People don't understand what that means." I said, "Well, then maybe they can ask. Maybe we can look just like we talked about the verse. That
Yeah.
was something I didn't know about, and I'm glad that you shared that with us. It's a lot of things you don't know." And my mother does another thing. She said, "When you walk out on that stage, Tell them something they don't know about you. When they walk out, when you walk on the stage, because I used to weigh 247 pounds and I lost 100 of them, 111 of them. And because when you met me, we was like, squishy. That's what my grandson said. Oh, you squishy. And it was my
Well,
health
I,
was
I
upset.
remember you changed your diet, and that affected me because I got diabetes too, also.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Wow, you're spraying your salad with the
Oh, with the
dressing."
spritzer. Oh, you was walking
Yeah,
someone cooking that. Because he
yeah,
said, well, who's going to go? I said, look, just give me a grocery store. Let me get the ingredients at the grocery store. These people shopping so they can see this is how I live my life. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
and it's become such a lifestyle. It is my lifestyle. I don't even think about it. I mean, I
yeah.
gave up red meat and pork. Well, I gave up pork because it gave me a headache, and I gave up red meat because I couldn't get it all the way through my system. I said, Lord, if you get me off this road to the table, you ain't never got to worry about me coming back and asking, Lord Jesus, please get me off this table. No.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it was a big change because in our community, food is our familiar. And I
yes.
found out I was an emotional eater. Oh, I get a new job. Let's go out and have a spread. Okay, I get kicked off. I didn't never get fired in my life until I came to Hollywood. I was like, you can't fire me. They were like, yes, you can. I had
Yeah,
never been fired before in my life. And that's when I knew that you always make sure you get a pay or play contract. And it was
yeah.
so when they kicked me off of one radio station, I said, I got a 4-year deal right here. You got to finish paying me with this contract.
Yeah, yeah,
And that chick, who she? And they looked up the paperwork and they were like, oh yeah, we got to pay her. But we could say don't go on another radio station. Okay, cool. So I go make TV.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you don't take away what somebody has. And this, I tell you, Ted, I wish I could take any credit for this. This is all from on high. I am an obedient daughter. I listen to what God says to me, especially when He's smacking me around and laying me down on the floor and getting me up and saying, okay, now you ready to get back on point? All right, come
Yeah.
on, let's go. And God has a way of like stopping you, whomever you conceive that higher power to be, that energy in the universe. Because you're not out here by yourself. If I even thought of half of the stuff I did, I'd be like, look, I'd have been in an institution someplace. And it's important, especially in our community, that we take care of ourselves, that we take care of our health, our spirituality, our finances. I mean, I didn't realize that a lot of people of color don't believe they should be in good health.
Woo, baby. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. They make the wrong. But see, you have choices. He puts things in front of you, and then you make the choice. You can eat the candy bar or the carrot. It's up to you, you know?
I see what people don't understand about, especially when you're managing diabetes. And I realized a while ago, uh, because I wanted to do the research, because so many members of my family have perished from the complications of diabetes, don't want to change their eating habits. They're dying very young. And I was like, you know what? And I made a really lucrative living as a plus size woman. I was a spokesperson for this huge plus size clothing line. I was out of here I was based out here in California. They sent me all over the country for plus size women. And I didn't even realize I was plus size. We come from the hood. We ain't plus size. We fluffy. We
Yeah.
easily plump. I could walk a mile in some stiletto heels at 247 pounds. That wasn't a problem. And they really don't. And I was just so disenchanted that they didn't know because they didn't know. And they
Yeah.
thought they could just wish it away. Well, they used to tell me, oh, come over here and get Big Mama a kick. Come give me some sugar, baby. I'm like, well, I was scared of getting sugar from the older people because they only in a wheelchair with one leg. I'm like, well, what happened to you?
Yeah.
Oh, baby, don't worry about that. That's just a little sugar. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
See, this is my version of a little sugar.
Yeah.
And your
Yeah.
leg ain't falling off. You're not going blind. And
Yeah.
we don't realize that we have the power and the wherewithal to take better care of ourselves. And I remember I was doing a presentation, a cooking demonstration, and the ladies that were there, most of them were women in my audience, and they said, "We can't afford to eat like that." I said, "You can't afford to not eat like that."
Not eat like that. That's right.
And I would take people to the, especially the seniors, and the senior people. I'm old and set my way. I'm just gonna eat my chitlin. I'm having me some pork chop. I'm gonna eat me some fat back. And listen, can I take out a life insurance policy on you since you
Because
have
I
no
know
regard for your life? I ain't gonna take a lot. I don't want nobody bashing me in the head, but how about a 10, 15,000 policy just to help your family bury you because you decided to be stuck on stupid? Now I know we
Yeah,
gonna listen, we all gonna perish. Why not do the best you can while you're here in the
yeah,
middle of that
yeah,
dash
yeah.
and keep it going? What keeps you going, Ted? What keeps the fire
Well,
under you?
I just, when I wake up in the morning, I love what I do, and that's the first thing. I love theater. I love film. I have ideas. The reason I have so many plays, I have 26 plays, is they're all movies because I don't have the money to make the movie, but I can scrape enough money to do a play.
Mhm.
And so, like, I go around the country. I'm Not Rappaport in Michigan in 2 weeks. We go in a rehearsal. So I get to go be in a play in Michigan in 2 weeks. Again, that's another cold place. But I'm
I
gonna.
mean,
So,
wait a minute, and you go to these cold places on purpose. You can tell that is someone who actually loves what you do. I
oh
look, I
yeah,
told my family and friends
yeah,
back east, I'm like, listen, y'all want me to come to the services to be there? Make sure you die in the spring and in the summer. If it's got
yeah,
an R in the month, I won't be there. And
yeah.
now they can do the funeral. Now they can do it on. I did a video funeral. It was real creepy. It was during the pandemic, and I understand why they would only let like 2 or 3 people in for the viewing at a time, but they put it up online, and I was like, this is kind of creepy. Like when I went in Costco one day, me and my husband, we dated in the Costco. That's you've been married a long time when I dated in the Costco,
Oh
and I
yes.
was just so outdone. Going to Costco, they're selling caskets.
What? No. What city are you from? Where?
This was here in California. This was in
Oh,
California where the
okay.
family picnics over a gravesite. They prop up a tent. They bring a barbecue grill. They make sure they stay in a little area. And I was like, do I have to be dead to have that kind of, that looked like it's a lot of fun. Yes, they were selling caskets in the Costco. And what cracked
Mm-mm-mm.
me up was one of my friends, God rest her soul, before she passed away, she had asked me, to take care of what I make sure that her final wishes, came to fruition. And it cracked me up because the same casket that she picked out for herself, they had on sale in Costco.
No.
I was like, oh, girl, you got it. They ripped you off at the funeral home. You could have got this for
Yeah,
50.
because it's a better deal at Costco. We know that.
I laughed so hard. And changing with the world and changing with the way that things are and people are moving. Where's your Superman stuff?
Where's
When,
my
when
what?
you where's your Superman power after when you off the stage and you doing a thing and you just being Ted? What is your superpower?
Well,
Or what's the superpower you want?
let me see. I love tooling around my house. I have a great house. I love coming home to my house.
Mhm.
And I got a backyard, and sometimes I sit in the backyard, I smoke a cigar and read a book. That's
That's
what
the quiet
I
place.
like to do that. And
My home is my sanctuary. This is my safe
yes,
place. I could jump up and down, scream and holler, snatch my hair off, move it over here, put it on a doorknob or whatever. And we
yeah,
all need a safe place. So now
yeah.
you tell,
This is
tell us about
this.
what was going on in Syracuse and what's going to be happening in Michigan.
Well, Syracuse, we did Inherit the Wind. It's on
Oh yeah, you
YouTube
told
if you want to
me.
take a look at it. It's a really wonderfully written play. And then I'm going to be doing with the guy that played Gopher. He and I are both in our 70s now. We're going to do a play about two old guys, an old black guy
Oh
and an
wait,
old.
back it up, back it up, back it up. We're not old, baby. We're not old. We're seasoned. We got
Oh,
flavor.
I'm sorry.
We
You're
got
you're absolutely
we got.
nonetheless.
Look, my husband like, let me see what you taste like today, baby.
Yeah, yeah. Mother Love, you're absolutely right. We're going to do a play about two seasoned
There you go.
people, and it's called I'm Not Rappaport, and it's
I remember
really,
that.
yes, it's really good writing. He and I have a really good chemistry. We were really good, and we find comedy. I mean, this is the other thing I like to do. I love finding the comedic moments for
Mhm,
actors.
mhm,
And so we're going to do this play in Dexter, Michigan, which is just outside Ann Arbor. It's called the Encore Theater. And we're
mhm.
going to do that. I'm leaving in 2 weeks to go be a part of that. And we'll be there for a couple of weeks doing the play.
Well, just let me know what you're doing. It's good to see your face. I am just so proud and enamored and humble that you still love me anyway. You know,
Oh, yes, indeed. You know
I
that.
told you, I tell them all the time, Ted, I know people, but they think, especially when you go home, they think I know every black person in Hollywood.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
okay, but then when
yeah,
they see pictures of me, well, you know John Singleton. I'm like,
yeah,
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 I know his
yeah,
mom and them was. You know Ted Lang? You talk about Isaac from the Double. I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
sure.
I got friends, and I have very good friends, and I am so
Yes. We
grateful to
love,
have you.
and we love you.
And I love you back. Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable Ted Lange. Thank you for sharing a part of your very busy day with us. And know that I'm always here. As long as I got breath in me, you got some place to come and land.
All right now.
Peace
Thank
and
you.
blessings. Travel safe.